Hello students, in our today's lecture we will discuss the next important question. Why is Vikramaditya known as the greatest judge in India? This question is from the story The Judgment Seat of Vikramaditya, written by Sister Nivedita. So let us now discuss the answer of the question why King Vikramaditya is known as the greatest judge in India. The judgment seat of Vikramaditya is a well-known story by Sister Nivedita, as we have already discussed it in our previous lectures. It throws light on King Vikramaditya's sense of justice. It shows how an innocent shepherd boy could be transformed into a wise judge just by sitting on the mount above the judgment seat of Vikramaditya. This is well-known story written by Sister Nivedita, and this story throws light on King Vikramaditya's sense of justice. It shows us how an innocent shepherd boy means a boy who used to graze cattle. It shows how an innocent shepherd boy could be transformed. Transformed means changed into a wise judge just by sitting on the mount above the judgment seat of Vikramaditya. This story shows us how an innocent boy who is a shepherd or who used to graze his cattle could be changed into an intelligent judge only by sitting on the mount. Mount means a raised platform above the judgment seat of Vikramaditya. As we have already read that some shepherd boy used to graze their cattle in the ruins of the palace of King Vikramaditya, and one day a shepherd boy sits on the mount or the raised platform above the judgment seat of Vikramaditya, where once the judgment seat of Vikramaditya was. That shepherd boy sits on that mount, and by sitting on that mount he is transformed into a wise judge. King Vikramaditya was regarded as the greatest judge in India. Vikramaditya always heard the voice of his conscience while delivering judgment on any dispute. He had a firm belief that the voice of conscience was the voice of God. In history, King Vikramaditya is regarded as the greatest judge in India. Vikramaditya always heard the voice of his conscience. Conscience means inner spirit. He always heard the voice of his inner spirit while he used to deliver judgment on any dispute brought before him for the solution by the village people. He had a firm belief that the voice of conscience was the voice of God. So he always gives his judgment by listening to the voice of his inner spirit, because he believed that the voice of one's inner spirit is the voice of God. No criminal could deceive him. He never punished the innocent. He was so wise judge. King Vikramaditya was so wise judge that no criminal who has done any crime could ever deceive him. Deceive means cheat. No criminal could ever cheat him. He never punished the innocent. He was so accurate in his judgment that he never punished the innocent people. The guilty trembled when they came before him. So when the actual guilty person who has done any crime came before him, they used to start trembling. The reason was that they knew that their guilt could not be hidden from the sharp eyes of the king. Some people had difficult questions to ask. They wanted to know the truth. They would approach the king for the solution of their problem. If the king allowed them to come to his court, they felt grateful and happy. They knew that the king would give them the right answer and solve their problem in the wisest possible manner. Why the guilty trembled before King Vikramaditya? Because they knew that their guilt could not be hidden from the sharp, from the wise eyes of the King Vikramaditya. So they start trembling before King Vikramaditya. Some people had difficult questions to ask. Sometimes the people who had their difficult questions to ask from King Vikramaditya, they came visit him. They wanted to know the truth. They would approach the king for the solution of their problem. They visited him because they wanted to know the truth, and they also wanted solutions to their problems from King Vikramaditya. If the king allowed them to come to his court, they felt grateful and happy. If